Honestly, I'd classify myself as the head and shoulder over most of these guys because I have street education, I have school education. I know how to make money. I'm not a dummy because most of them are dumb. So if you're intelligent enough to maneuver them all, which I was, and as an Albanian and I ran the way I did, I'm not stupid, obviously, right? Because I would have been killed a long time ago. I made tons of money. So I didn't need them. I really didn't.
What up, guys? Thank you for tuning in. This is part 4 with Mr. John Alite. The man, the myth, the legend. John is going to crush it in the feature film Pony that I am directing coming out later this year. John, Gene, Brittany Palmer, and some other celebrities are in the mix. Stay tuned. Gene's got a TV series coming out as well, guys. Champ, let him know what's up.
Subscribe, like, and share. Let's go!
Let's go.
What did you think about him taking out Paul Castellano? Were you around? Around at that?
Yeah. You get, people say, "Oh, you didn't know." Of course, I knew about it.
Yeah.
Because here's one of the reasons too. Because he wanted me to be around with guys and weapons. We're not allowed to bring guns to the club at that time. He said, "Make sure I'm around and make sure I got guns around and make sure you guys are ready," because he didn't know what was going to jump off with the other families.
Mm-hmm.
So. And, prior to that happening on December 16th, 1985, is he was going to Neil Della Croce trying to get approvals to kill Paul. And Neil was on his deathbed. He wouldn't give it. Finally, John said, "Let's kill him. Neil's going to die anyway." Because John had a lot of respect for Neil.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally he said, "Okay, let's do it." Yeah, I never believed he had to. I believe it was just a smart move on John's part to become boss. Because Paul had 2 major cases going at the time. He wasn't killing anybody. He had the commission case and he had the Roy DeMeo case, construction things. He had the ability, and he already killed. At that time, he had DeMeo. He already killed Roy, which was his killing machine. And he had too much heat on him. He was out on bails. He just wasn't. He wasn't in a position to kill anybody. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't going to do it after all that pressure. So I think the worst he would have did to John and them was just shelve him. Mm-hmm. And I think John understood that. And he used it in his benefit and took him out.
Really quick about that, we heard a couple different stories from talking to a couple different people about John's alibi, John not being there for the Paul Castellano homicide. Then I heard that he was there. Then I heard that he was a driver. And I heard he wasn't a driver. Do you happen to know anything about that?
John didn't drive much. He didn't like driving, first off. He wasn't a great driver. He didn't like driving. And, I know Sammy's version, which... A lot of things Sammy said, for the people that don't know, his gas pipe lost his deal when he was cooperating because he didn't agree with a lot of things Sammy said. And I happen to believe a lot of things that gas pipe said were more accurate because I know Sammy lied a lot. He lied about things that involved me, the Louis DeBono murder. Sammy knew nothing about it. He acted like he did. He didn't because the hit team changed. He had no idea about that. That's one lie. The other one is he talked about Frankie Lucasio, the concierge that Frankie liked. Frankie hated him. And Frankie, I was trying to help Frankie with his lawyer of getting out on appeal against what things Sammy said about him. So Sammy's a artist in a lot of things. He has a reputation of lying. But at the time, he was the informant and the source. And I don't know who corroborated it, whatever he said or didn't. And I just know he lied a lot. I went to Sparks. If you go there at 5 o'clock, it's all Albanians that run Sparks, by the way. I did a TV show out there with Georgia Anastasia. If you go there and there's a body, if you go there now, it's Christmas time, right? Today's December 16th, actually, the day Paul gets hit. Go there at 5 o'clock, around when Paul's meeting for the dinner meeting, and you see the trucks are there, delivery there, it's packed. And a body in the street, how the fuck is Sammy say they drove past the body? I don't believe it. I think it's a complete lie. There's too many people in the street. There's police there. How you getting by there? Who's going to take a chance to get by there? And if you go on the block prior to that is 3rd Avenue. And then if you're coming down, you're in no man's land if you're coming down to Sparks. So I never bought that story. And he's just known to be a liar. His nickname wasn't the Bull. It was Sammy the Artist. That's the truth, really. And he was supposed to get hit by the Colombo family. They chased him because they called him a rat. And Louis Melito, his best friend, saved his life. And then later on, he set up his best friend to get killed. So, I don't really buy anything. I don't know for sure where John was, to be honest. I just know what John told me, to be around and have guns around and guys around. So that part I know, my position. The part Sammy saying that, and I'll clarify that, Sammy saying he set up the whole murder, he hardly knew John. He only knew him a couple of years. Do you think John's going to trust the guy he hardly knows, who has a reputation of being a snake, to set up the murder, the biggest murder in his life, that if he it up, he's going to get life or he's going to get killed, John? No way. He's going to trust his own guys. That his own guys means his brother Jeannie, Johnny Koenig, Tony Roach, guys that he had around every day, day and night with us. Not some stranger. So that there doesn't hold mud in the first place. That's his first lie. And Sammy wasn't an underboss at the time. He was just a made guy, and he was in no man's land himself, Sammy. So John knew he could maneuver him, and he can use him because he can't run back to that crew no more because he's dead without all them. So John maneuvered Sammy. So Sammy's story, like, I'm with John, and John's discussing everything with me, is a lie. Frankie the Chico was close with John, and Sammy knew Frankie, yes. So maybe John had conversations with Frankie, and Frankie might have told Sammy some things, and Frankie's too sharp of a guy, wasn't going to tell Sammy everything either. So I don't buy his stories.
How did John get away with that? I mean, isn't that unheard of, to kill a boss of a family and just take over like that? I mean, I know that
Well, you need the commission's approval, and what John did was he took Joey Scopo, who took one faction of the Colombo family, and he became the active boss.
Yeah.
So John maneuvered him, who grew up with them. Joey respected John, knew him since a baby, he was best friends with his brother Jeannie. So now you got the Gambino family says yes. You got a faction of the Colombo family says yes. And he's close with Joe Messina, and he brings them back in the commission because they were thrown out because of their drug dealing. And he brings Joe and says, I'll bring you back in if you say yes. So now there's his three families. Now Lucchese and Genovese family say, that ain't flying with us. We're not recognizing Joey Scopo. It's Carmine Persico that says no. It's Gas Pipe and Vicamuso that says no. And then you got the Chin that says no. So you have the three families on that side that say no. So now you're saying and then Joey Scopa obviously gets hit he's the last guy to get hit during the war, which I talk about. I like Joey a lot. And they hit Joey as the last hit during the Colombo was. And that's because of what went on, because of, trying to take over the Colombo family, which John kind of backed that. And then you got Sammy that, again, you have Joey Scopo that get hit. Sammy did nothing about it. So when he tries to sell this thing, he only shot one guy in his life, Sammy, not 19. So if you check into the paperwork, he only killed one guy in his life. But he never hits nobody that hits his best friend, Frankie DeChico. He never hits nobody that hits Eddie Lino. Nobody that hit Bobby Borriella. Nobody that hit Joey Scopo. Nobody that hit Little Anthony. Nobody that hit Greg Ryder, Mark's son. And somebody else gets killed too. I forget off the top of my head. Never hit nobody back. We lost 7 guys. So where's your killing? Where's this killer that he talks about? So that's why I said that, guys that don't know about the mob, they can buy into all this. They don't know any better. Yeah. Nobody's, who's going to tell them? Yeah. Where are they going to get their information?
That's true. Who were the actual killers of Paul Castellano? Like, who actually shot him?
Vinny Arturoso was one of the guys that was there that said, supposedly, is, again, I'm getting it from information of guys I know. So he said his gun jammed. They were contemplating killing him. I don't know if his gun jammed or not. They thought he was lying. Then they said he wasn't. So I'm not sure. He was there. Tony Roach was there. Jeannie Gotti was there. Johnny Koenig, who was the supposed killer of both guys. He killed Bellotti, and then he went on the other side and killed Paul, which I believe, because Johnny had, I'm a big fan of Johnny's. I was very loyal to him. I wasn't loyal to his brother. I thought his brother was a junkie, just everything weak. He gave us up in different situations, and internally, not to the law, but internally, things that were happening. Crackhead, heroin addict, everything. He didn't belong in his life. And Johnny was a completely different guy. And Johnny knows what his brother was, and Johnny's wife knew who his brother was, and they should have just kept him away from this life, and they didn't. But Johnny was a nice guy, a funny guy, a tough guy, money maker. He had all the qualities. He hated sitting in the club playing cards. That wasn't his thing. So he liked Harley Davidsons, fast boats, and he was good and close. He had a good wife, good family, kids. So Johnny had it all together. I was shocked that he took and he listened to Senior, and he did he took all that time and not to play, because he could have did it in 9 years. Yeah. He wasn't the type of guy to do that. He was the type of guy to think on his own. Yeah. So I was very surprised that he did that.
Yeah. What did you consider yourself when you were in that life? Like, as far as, were you like a gangster, or do you consider yourself a gangster or a street guy, or what? How did you consider yourself when you
Honestly, I think I classify myself a lot head and shoulder over most of these guys, because I have street education, I had school education, I know how to make money. I'm not a dummy, because most of them are dumb. So if you're intelligent enough to maneuver them all, which I was, and as an Albanian and I ran the way I did, I'm not stupid, obviously, right? Because I would have been killed a long time ago. I made tons of money, so I didn't need them. I really didn't. My biggest mistake is getting involved with them, because I did the shooting. I did the work. I brought in the money. I opened up the businesses. What do I need them for? So it was one of the dumbest things I ever did, actually, as a kid. But you're a kid. You don't know any better. That's why I'm always telling kids, get the fuck away from that nonsense.
Yeah. Can I just ask, what were your thoughts of Vincent the Chin Gigante? When you did you ever see him walking around in the bathrobes or anything like that?
I know his daughter, his one daughter. I don't know if you know, she's out in the thing. She's a nice woman. Mm-hmm. I know Sonny Black's, daughter. I know the Chicos. I know all the Gambino. I know them all since I'm a kid.
Yeah.
So I look at them and I'm like, I lived a life that none of them did. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed my life. I went from country to country. I opened clubs. I had big money. I did things. They're almost like in jail outside of jail. They don't do anything. So when you look at, is the Chin smart? Yeah, he's a smart guy. He lasted a long time in the life. But what kind of life did he live? Mm-hmm. You didn't have a real family life because you were on the street day and night. You had cases day and night. You didn't travel. You didn't do anything. So how is this a good life? So when someone could tell me, what's so good about this life? You're fighting to survive, not to go to jail for the rest of your life, which you end up doing. You didn't have a good family life, because no one can in this life. None of us. Because you can't do both. You're married to the street. And the other thing is, you're not traveling. So where are you enjoying your life?
Yeah.
John had enjoyed his life because he liked the limelight a lot. So he enjoyed it to a certain extent, but he didn't travel.
Yeah.
He didn't go to Paris. He didn't go to Italy. He didn't go to Greece. He didn't go to Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay. I can tell you every city in all these places besides just going there. Yeah. The Cayman Islands, the Ivory Coast. I've been everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? So when you look at these guys, they didn't.
Right.
So what's the enjoyment?
Yeah.
So what? You can buy a Lamborghini. Who gives a f***? What are you going to do with a Lamborghini if you're in prison the rest of your life?
Yeah, right? That's true. When you were going to do like an act of violence, can you say like what kind of music were you listening to? Like, say I gotta go beat this guy. What are you putting in the car?
I listened to two types. I used to listen to the Ghetto Boys. I don't know.
Yeah.
I used to listen to them, and then believe it or not, I listen to a lot of opera.
Really?
Yeah, I like soft music.
Like I'm gonna go beat the out of this guy. I'm gonna play some.
I used to put on smoothing music. Soft music
shit.
Level you out.
Calm. Yep.
Damn.
Yeah.
Can you say what your favorite part of that life, your former life, was? Obviously it's in the past, but what was the height when you were in it? Like, what was your favorite part about it? It's a distant memory, but at the time when you were living it,
it's got to be the excitement, the way you move around. Just like right now, we're just sitting here now. Come on, let's go to California.
Yeah.
I would stay at the Hermitage. It's a townhouse. Back then, it cost me $2,500 a night. Pavarotti was my next door. I didn't even know who he was. I was a dumb kid. Yeah. And I asked him to come over to my party that I was throwing. I bought, a couple of cases of champagne, Cristal. I'm throwing money around like crazy. And the bell guy tells me, they all know who you are. I'm still stupid not to understand. They all know I'm a drug dealer, because you're naive. And then I asked Pavarotti, I go, you want to come over? Because he came out. I go, am I making too much noise? He only spoke very little English. And he's laughed, and he goes, no. And then the bell guy goes, you know who that is? And I go, no. And he tells me. Then I knock back on the door. I said, sorry, I didn't know who you were. He laughed. He was a very nice guy.
Yeah.
But, you know, I went there. I went to California. I flew there with 3 girls. I threw a party, and, you know, it cost me $2,500 a night. And I thought it was a big deal that they gave me a limousine complimentary from 9 to 5 or 6, whatever.
Right.
You know, you're a dumb kid.
Yeah.
You know, so.
When you look back on that in your memories, are you just like, that was awesome? Right.
Yeah, I think about all this because, you know, I walk into places and it was a big deal that I'm coming in.
Yeah.
You know? I'm a kid. And, you know, you understand what you are when you start seeing grown adults, men, treating you like, you know, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
You know, they're successful guys treating you. And then you feel like you're successful. You lie to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, wow, I made it. That's like Tony Montana, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I made it, but you really didn't make it. You're just stupid. You think you made it, but you didn't make it respectably. You know, you're still a bum, low life in a different way. You know, that's the truth of it. You can dress any way you want, speak the way you want, but it's not real success.
Fair enough. Was there a favorite gangster movie that you watched where you were like, it gave you like chills almost because it was so real, or something that you just liked?
I don't watch, believe it or not, I don't even watch my own podcast ever they do. But you know what movie I liked out of all the gangster movies? I love State of Grace with Sean Penn. I thought it was great. Ed Harris.
Okay.
And you know why I like it? Because these guys were streety guys like I was. I grew up in the street.
Yeah.
You know, they're Irish. They're just regular tough guys.
Yeah.
You know, wild. You know, even though they're like bums, but they're wild. And I can relate because that's how I grew up.
Right. Right. Do you feel like they shouldn't be making a movie about you one day soon?
The truth is, they don't talk about it because I'm Albanian. But I ranked and I did what I wanted in the street for a lot of years in an Italian mafia, being Albanian. So when guys can say anything they want, I tell everybody you'll never last in Albania for 24 hours if you're not Albanian. So how did I last like this? So
sounds like a pretty good movie script to me.
yeah,
Right?
yeah. I mean, you know, it's and I didn't do what most of them did, you know, because most of these guys are broke. It's not what people think. They never traveled. They didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And they, you know, I just had a wild, crazy life from the penitentiaries and other countries to on the run, and the Interpol chasing me everywhere. And when they caught me with the, you know, they caught me with the army and snipers, and you know, they came with everything, helicopters, and you know, so it was just the whole way through has been crazy.
You talk about loving life. You know, you love life. You love living life. Do you feel like you've done everything that you could possibly want to do in this life?
No.
What more is there for John?
Well, yeah, I want to make sure my kids are successful in a good way, and the other is to do something positive, which I've been trying to do with kids.
Yeah.
And then I would say this life was I accomplished what I want, because this stuff is my life. I can't erase it. It's things that happen.
Yeah.
It's in me. I mean, you know, people ask me, I said, my DNA is still my DNA.
Right.
If somebody walked in this house, yeah, I'm the same guy, wouldn't hesitate killing them.
Yeah.
But that's not who I want to be.
Right.
And what I want to be is the guy that's saving that kid that thinks his life is only in the street like I thought it was.
Right.
That's the satisfaction, really. And people could say what they want, but there's nothing more satisfying than saving somebody's life from ruining it. And then watch him have kids and family. And there's a lot of people that write me and tell me, thank you for helping me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not like those guys that don't answer. I answer a lot of guys. I talk to as many as I can. And, you know, people are like, why do you waste your time so much on this? It's not a waste of time if I could save somebody's life. Because I know how many times I sat in cells and I cried my eyes out, right? And I'm not ashamed to say it. And somebody said, oh, you cried at them. Yeah, I cried. What am I, a robot?
We're all human beings.
And I told the God that too. You can make fun of me, because the God made fun of me one time. And I said to him, but if you open this door, I says, I guarantee I kill you, you fat. You know,
The
so,
beer probably changed quickly. Yeah. So
you know, he talked like an idiot. I threw piss on him, actually. You know, because I got him to open up the crack of the door. I kept apologizing to him. So he would open and he'd put his face in. I threw piss on him. I go, now come in. You know, so, you know, that's not going to get out of you. You know, that's never going to change you either, because you got that mentality not to give in. But you just got to channel it in a positive way. But you got pricks like them. You know, I stick up. I try to stick up for the police now, right? And you know, most of them are good guys. But then you got a couple of idiots. I was in jail, so, almost 20 years, and I love this country, even after everything. But I'm honest. I lived a life. I got what I deserved, and now I got a different life.
So we talked about the money. We talked about the lack of loyalty in that life. Now, what is your legacy? What do you ultimately want your legacy to be? Obviously, you talk about helping the kids. You want to, make sure your family's straight. But what, 100 years from now, what do you want your legacy to be? How do you want to have impacted society ultimately?
Then I was able to turn it around, to be a positive influence, somebody that's going to Donald Trump, to Mar-a-Lago, somebody that's in advocating for the freedom of this country, advocating for the Uyghurs that are in China being abused. I said, so we don't make no difference. This is about control, and you want to have a voice because most people are weak. Even in jail, they're weak. They tell them to clean dog on the floor. These are the same guys that won't get a job. They clean dog on the floor. I mean, it's just amazing how you can maneuver people to do it. I'd rather be that guy. Maybe I'll go in a solitary confinement for years, cry my eyes out, but you ain't going to break me to keep doing what you're saying, because this is our country. And people ask me, why am I so aggressive? And I've said it over and over again, because if I don't fight, I leave the fight for my kids and my grandkids. So we need to speak. As much as it's and you don't want to do it, it's a pain in the ass, and it's a lot of flack. And
fair enough. So ultimately, you're looking out for a better future for everyone.
When big government, and Ronald Reagan said it years ago, invades in your life, you don't have freedom. When you're looking for small government, what Donald Trump wants, small regulations, you have your freedom. You have your freedom to live your life, your family's life.
Yeah. Are you going to get in the office one day or what?
Man, I wish I could have gotten office in some level.
I mean,
starts coming out like
who's
deep.
not going to vote for you? 'Cause you just get.
Yeah, right.
I mean, truthfully, I mean, you truly believe in what you say. We could tell by looking at you, sitting down with you. You know what I mean? And you're real off camera too. For people watching, he's this guy on or off camera. This is the first time we've sat down and met him in person. John is a real dude. You know what I mean? He opened his home up to us without ever meeting us. You know what I mean? So he really does speak from the heart and say what he means.
I said, so, these guys are just good at dividing people and manipulating people. Try to make somebody hate somebody because of their color, because they're gay, because they're straight, because they're, LGBTQ, whatever. That's their individual right. What are you trying to make people hate each other for? And it's such a Machiavelli gangster move that I see it. I see what it is. So that's why I'm always so outspoken. And I tell the kids and every kid that knows me from the inner city, don't buy into this. You think they care about you?
And I got to reiterate for people watching, John comes from that world, right? You grew up on Jamaica Avenue around people of all different ethnicities, tough area. You're from the hood, essentially.
Yeah.
You're from the hood. You're from the streets, right? So you've seen all levels of life. You've seen the hood, made millions of dollars and traveled all over the world. You know what I mean? You've seen every aspect of society, everything. Like I said, you've came full circle. And now, when did you have the revelation to the that's going on nowadays?
Here's an example. You want to these bills that if you get an F or a D, it's okay, because you don't want them intelligent. These are mob tactic moves against the inner city. And then you want to act like you care about them. Then you want to throw them out and take their parks, and you won't build them anything, but you got billions to send to other countries before them. So single mothers, people why don't you give them more money for education? Teach people confidence as a young age. But I've said it 100 times. Let's take every race, every religion, and put 5- and 6-year-olds in a schoolyard, put 100 of them in there, and I guarantee you they don't hate each other. You're trying to teach them.
Yeah. And then you speak about helping vets and stuff like that as well, and you're
they're on my sites.
Now, right?
I'm big. I'm pro law enforcement. I talk about them all the time. And people that don't understand what I'm saying, I tell them every day: if you're in a rich neighborhood, you don't need no cops. You're safe over there. How about that lady who's not a gangster? How about her children just want an education? They live in our neighborhoods when there's rough, and people, there's wolves and the sheep. I says, and not everybody's a street guy and gangster can't survive it. So, they need law enforcement to protect them. I told a kid in school who was a gangbanger when I was talking, I go, stand up. Do you like cops? He says, no, I don't like cops. I said, I didn't like them either when I grew up. But I guarantee you, if I ask this girl a question, you're going to change your opinion. And I told the girl to get up, and I asked her, I says, if you see his mother walking down the street and you see two guys dragging her in the alley and they're going to, do you call the cops? She said yes. And then I asked him, do you want her to call the cops? And he goes, oh, that ain't a fair question. Oh, yeah, it is. Because it happens every day. Everybody doesn't know who your mother is. Just because I was out being a gangster didn't mean I wanted my mother and my sisters and everybody else to live that life. So, we got to be concerned about our children. And then those same guys that are killers and gangsters and robbing, just like I was, we're no angels, but we have kids too. We don't want to see nothing happen to our kids. So there's got to be some sort of law enforcement.
Yeah, because a lot of people are going to be like, well, this guy was this huge gangster, under John Gotti. Like, how did he transform into being pro law enforcement when he spent his life, trying
But I
to
got beat down badly, twice, badly, many times, but twice badly.
Yeah.
And I say it all the time. I got what I deserved. Not that I was wrong, actually. Either time I really wasn't. Cops but I'm no angel. So they're going to treat me because they know who I am. Mm-hmm. So that's part of the game. I'm in the game. That's what happens when you're in the game. I'm not in the game. I'm not getting beat up anymore. So it has a lot to do with my history and my attitude. So that's why I say comply and then complain. So if you think you're being abused, comply so you don't end up getting hurt or going to jail or somebody getting killed. And the next day, complain. Go put a report in and complain. But my objective is to look out for these kids so they get and understand there's no win situation. I tried it. You don't win.
And how do you prevent them from stepping into the underworld and that street life? How do you convince them to not go that route? Because ultimately you got to realize a lot of people are still going to hear your stories or watch Goodfellas or watch, any kind of movie, Boys in the Hood Society. They're going to watch these crime movies and still think that it's cool.
Because that kid in the hood, let's take anywhere, Detroit, and they grow up in the slums and they have one mother and one father, maybe no mother, no father. At 5 and 6 years old, they should be teaching them confidence. They should be taught to teach these kids the confidence and to teach them to like themselves, to teach them to say that not this, oh, I'm black, the white kid's better than me. Oh, I'm Spanish, he's better than me. Oh, he's Muslim, so that Catholic's better than me. The Muslim's better than the... This divide is what they're teaching. They're not teaching them, listen, I wasn't good in school either. You don't have to be. You only got to be good in one thing in this world to get rich. So maybe you're good you're a handy guy, and you can be a carpenter. Maybe you're a tech guy. You're good at computers. It only takes one thing to teach a kid to get very successful. You could drive a truck and open up a truck company. I didn't have the confidence because nobody told me that. But if you start teaching classes in first grade, second grade, third grade, and build up as they get older, classes should be implemented about confidence. And make them know, no matter what happened in that household, it has nothing to do with them, you should love yourself. Because I didn't give a about myself. I didn't give a about my life. That's why I put it on the line all the time. For whatever went on in my childhood, that's what I did. And that's what a lot of these kids are doing. They're not got no worth for their life. That's why they lose it so fast or they'll kill somebody else so fast. So every time I say when I'm mad at somebody now, if I want to kill you, I'm only killing myself. Yeah. So I got to like myself enough more than I want to hurt you. And if you teach it and you mean it, and you get guys like me that go talk to our professors that actually care about the kids.
So how do you instill the confidence in the kids that, like you described, they don't have the confidence, they don't have the self-esteem, but they don't have anybody to instill that in them, right? You can go to their school and talk to them for a day.
Because it's not a one-time talk. I can bring it to them. It's like bringing a horse to water, right? But they need to be, it's got to be done on a constant basis. That's why I said it's got to be in schools, from the kindergarten to the first grade, to the second grade, to the third grade, to the fourth grade. This should be a lesson of confidence in each grade. And just like you learn History 1 and you start with the Indians and you go to something else and you go to the Spanish-American War, they should be doing this at levels with confidence. And it should be a school mandatory all the way up until college. Until it's bred in your head, instead of brainwashing them in bad things, brainwash them in good things, to like themselves, to tell them you're capable of doing anything you want. You don't need anybody to hold your hand. You can do it. I was in prison with guys, one guy, Cheddar, I was very close to. A tall, skinny kid, was a little slow black kid. And they got him to kill 3 kids, right? He was slow. He was getting checks this whole time. His lawyer sold him out, took his grandmother $75,000. I talked to the grandmother. I saved his life. I got him the judge couldn't sentence him because he couldn't prove if he was kill him mentally stable or not. And he wasn't. That's why he was getting a check the whole time. So there was no way to prove at the time when he shot him, and he didn't. They maneuvered the kid, and he was a really good kid. And he was talented. He could sing. He could play basketball. And anyway, I was getting in his head every day. And I says, change your life when you go home. Stop following these kids. And, you know, he was a little slow, so they abused him. But nobody helped him. His grandmother loved him. He had a good grandmother. He was a nice kid. But somebody's got to reach out and put their hand out. You're not going to be able to reach out your hand to every child or every kid in the neighborhood, but just one. But if you have school classes, I was on CNN. I went to talk during the town hall meeting with Anderson Cooper. Whose brainiac idea was this to have free? So you're saying for the rest of their lives, just let them get high, and that's your answer? And you think somebody that's getting high in a club somewhere over there is going to go to a drug-free zone? What world do they live in?
Right.
And these kids, all these kids, their lives don't mean anything. You're never going to try to fix them? That's your answer? To be able to get high cleanly?
Temporary escape.
But they got no plan to ever fix them.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're just going to keep them there till they're dead, or till they're brain dead anyway.
Did you get any blowback when you were on CNN?
I know Anderson Cooper. He's a nice guy, actually.
But did they?
I didn't really speak when it was live. You know, they have the live part, and they have the part when we're not live, and I talk to him. Yeah, we all discussed it. There's money behind it. They're making money.
Yeah.
The government makes money. The people that are involved on the private end that work, that know somebody within the government, they're getting an end. I know, you know, I know the game. It's a kickback game.
Who's going to be the one that teach the kids the lessons that you're talking about? Like, who? It can't be a regular teacher, because obviously a lot of these teachers are teaching them.
Well, they got no right teaching them anything. They're not psychologists.
Right.
So I don't even know why that hasn't been brought up. Doesn't matter what they're teaching them. They shouldn't be teaching them anything but whatever they went to school for. They're teaching history, math, science, what other education, what gym class, but not psychology. You're not a psychologist. You didn't go to school for that. You should actually get locked up for that. And I'm talking about in anything.
You know, you said that you weren't the best student, right? But you're obviously an intelligent guy, right?
I read a lot.
You read a lot, and, you know, you've owned multiple businesses that were successful. You've made millions of dollars. Most people don't make that in their life, right? But you became an intellect as you got older, though, correct?
Yeah.
So you don't. So for the kid out there that has a hard time doing well in school, you know, you're proof that you can. You even if you're not getting the best grades, you can still become an intelligent person.
John Gotti went to the same high school as me, Frank K. Lane. We both grew up, and he grew up in Brownsville. I grew up on Jamaica Avenue. Same thing, East New York, Brownsville. I do talks in Brownsville. He never went to school either. He's very, very well read. He read books all the time, day and night. That's why he knew how to maneuver people. If that guy, and I've said it over and over, if that guy didn't go into the street, he could have been a CEO. He knew how to handle people. And it's, you know, you got to have street smarts, and you have to have an intellect and intelligence that you learn through growing up the hard way like we did. And then as you get older and you have children, you have a motivation to be a little more intelligent to pass it on to your kids. Because only an idiot would want my kid to do what I was doing. Like, my son's in jail, it's 10 times more suffering him there than me. And, you know, so all these parents out there that have children, even the ones that have issues, whether it's drugs or drinking, they want better for their kids. They might be too weak themselves to teach them. And somebody's got to tell these kids in school, you're all right. And you're all right. At 5 years old, you're all right. People do love you. People do care. You look at yourself and like yourself. It ain't all just about money, because I had a ton of money and I wasn't happy back then either. I had no money, I wasn't happy. It was when I became eternally happy and I learned to change myself that I started becoming more happy.
So you're obviously very well informed with what's going on in society nowadays, right? I mean, you keep up on everything, current events, you know, politics, you know, economic growth. Can you give me your insight as to what you think is happening with this new UAP situation that's going on here, the UFO situation? The government's admitting that there's craft visiting Earth from unknown origins. The Pentagon's went on record saying that. They're in the House right now talking about full disclosure. Ex-pilots are talking about it. People up in the upper echelon of government are going on record talking about the data and the interview. David Grush came out and talked about it. who was in the upper echelon of the government and former military as well. Commander David Fravor, longtime major in the Air Force, has gone on record talking about the Tic Tac incident that I believe occurred in 2004. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know I'm a big UFO guy, so I used to love this. From jail, I used to talk to my son about it. Listen, if you go through the pyramids and seen what was drawn and written on pyramids from one end of the world to another when they had no way of getting to each other, how would they know to be writing and drawing the same thing first? Second, they know because there was ships that just recently were on their radar and it was live. They reported it. Airline pilots, just what you said, they reported it. This country and every country understands. And I believe, like, if you're a God-believing person, which I am, and it took me a long time, there was a lot of things that I questioned, but it's ignorant for us in a world, a universe that's forever infinite, to believe we're the only ones here. It's not logically thinking. It's just not. And we're energy. Our bodies are energy. Energy never dies. And without getting into a million stories about my daughter, things happened with her that I wasn't drunk. I wasn't anything. Her TV went on when I went up in her room. I didn't even know it worked. I went through this on one of my shows. Downstairs, I have an urn with an angel urn with her ashes in it. I'll leave the house, and I'll take you downstairs. I'll show you. We'll shake it. We'll do everything you want. That light will not go on. I come home some days, the light's on. Can't explain it. I went to Las Vegas, and the girl sat next to me, and I was very upset about my daughter. I just called my sister, and the girl started talking to me, the bartender. It was breakfast. He was with her boyfriend. He asked for her identification. She says, "Why would you ask him for me? I'm 30 years old." Her birthday was the same exact day and month as my daughter and year. So I could continue with some of these. The lights went on twice in my house. So do I believe in UFO? 100%. And because they hide things, just like when they don't talk about something, like anything else, if it was so safe, they would debate it. They would let you talk. They'll let you ask a million questions. It's like me telling you don't cross the street, and I say I ain't telling you why, because if you cross, you're going to die. And you're going to say there's no cause. And for me not to be able to open that explanation to you, then I'm hiding something, obviously. When they're not transparent, something's wrong. And when they don't, not transparent about UFOs, same thing.
Have you ever considered running for anything, any kind of office?
Yeah, I've talked about it a lot, actually, and I wish it was a possibility that I could. I mean, with my background, who knows? If somebody asked me, would you run, I would definitely run.
Can I just want to say something real quick to John. Did I pipe Mikey Lazy Eye with the tire iron and set that googly eye straight? Yes, I did. Did I have a three-way with the two big tits bazooka woman over at the Copa Lounge? Yes, I did. Are you going to ever trademark that? Yes, I did. That shit needs to be on a T-shirt with you in the jumpsuit looking like a supermodel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, John. Well, we'll wrap it up. We could literally sit here and talk to you all night.
Right.
But
when we talk politics, I'll talk all day and night. I want to advocate for the inner city for the that goes on.
Absolutely.
I want to give them a chance at life.
Real quick then, for you, let the people know that are listening and watching what platforms you have so they can listen to you or hear what you have to say as well. I'm on YouTube. My name, John Alite, Alite, whatever way you want to say it, Alite. I'm on Instagram under my name also, John Alite. I'm on TikTok. They run it for me through Europe. I'm on Instagram, which Facebook. I got a amount of pages on that. You can see me in the magazine recently. I just did Life magazine cover in Germany, Centerfold at GQ magazine, Forbes magazine, Hollywood magazine. I'm filming a new movie called Pony. I'm on Netflix, a couple of different series, Fear City, and another one called How to Become a Boss. I did a 4-part series in Denmark with Klaus on his life story, the downfall of a drug lord, The Viking. I did Perfect Gangster, that's out. I did Mafias 1 and 2 in the UK. They were all number one, Perfect Gangster. Mafias 1 and 2 with Trevor McDonald. They were number one. I did a couple of comedy series. I did an action film that'll be out shortly, and I got a couple of things in the work. I have a lot of songs that are out there that rappers have done with me.
You're making me feel like I did a intro for you with all the stuff that I left out. I mean, this guy's all over the place. Can you plug your books too?
Yeah,
best-selling books.
I've got 5 books out. I have Gotti's Rules, Darkest Hour, Mafia International, Death Haven, and Prison Rules. It's more of a handbook if you go to jail. I did that with Nick Christopher, George Anastasia. I did Gotti's Rules with Susan Pike. I did Darkest Hour with. And Lou Romano, I did Mafia International with.
And do you have your own website where you sell books or merch? Or
Yeah,
anything
you
like
go
that?
on my website, it's johnelite.com. Merchandise and shirts and pictures. I do special appearances for events, talks, weddings, lectures, school events. If anybody wants to hire me, you could come on. My Katie answers any of the inquiries.
Awesome. All right, sir. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor, man.
Thanks, man.
Truly appreciate it. All right. John Alite, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks.
Pleasure, Matt.
Pleasure, man. Appreciate it.